Buenos días, buenos días, welcome everyone to New Spanish Director, this retrospective that we're doing this month, Cinematic. We're going to be talking today to a good friend, a good filmmaker, a person we've been interviewing 3 times in the last 2 years. So it gives you the idea of how much we like his films. He's Álvaro Gago. Welcome, Álvaro. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you. Buenos días. I'm good. I'm good. Very, very happy to see you guys again and be here with you.
How are you? Where are you?
I'm in Villanova, in my grandparents' house. Villanova is a region in the kind of in the southwest of Galicia, and this is where I'm going to be shooting my first feature. Well, here and in the surrounding areas. And I've been based here already for I don't know 2 or 3 months, and yeah, I'm fully immersed in the world of the film.
Great. We'll talk obviously more about the film later.
Pues yes, Álvaro, it's great to see you again. We were saying before the interview that we had the chance to talk to you a few times in the last couple of years. We met you before in Clermont-Ferrand, and it's about time we bring you over to Scotland and we have a proper pint and we have a proper chat in a pub rather than online channels. But talking about that and going over your films, we include you maybe unfairly on the new Spanish directors just because we love your work. We have been showing it along the years in our programs. We are looking forward to watch your feature film. We'll talk about that in a minute. But your films have kind of there is a thing there. It's a local films using local people, not always professional actors, but local ones. But despite that, they kind of reach abroad. They go all over the world, festivals and cinemas, and there is local stories that work at global level. It reminds me of Mark Jenkins. I don't know if you've seen Bait, which is a film with us in a fishing port in the south of England. And again, why is that? How you manage to get that kind of message across the planet?
Well, I don't think it has to do with me. It just has to do with the art form of cinema. That it's just we're all humans, and as soon as the curtain like lifts up, we all feel in the same way, and we all get similar emotions or the same emotions, and we all see a face and can read it and relate whatever is happening on the screen to our personal experiences in the same way. So no matter race, country, or gender, or whatever. So that's the power of cinema right there, and I don't know. I've always had like in my head this kind of like quote from Chabrol, like drink from your own experiences and talk about what you can relate to, well, I think that's sort of what I feel comfortable doing. And that doesn't mean that in the future I wouldn't try to explore, or I wouldn't come across something that really creates some sort of desire in me to explore, and that's fairly far away. But I would try anyway to find connections that relate to my own personal experience and draw from there. So starting locally and speaking from what I know from the people that I know best, that I understand best, I guess, the relationships that I do understand best, is something that is just it comes natural, and it is also a way of getting to know myself a little better, to be honest. Through, because they throw mirrors at me, and so knowing your community locally better through the making of films makes me think about myself, makes me reflect about me, and makes me just get to know myself better. So that's also something that I take from basing the projects here. And with regards to the people that I film, there is something very pleasurable. I get a lot of pleasure out of seeing someone in the screen that I haven't seen before, capturing, stealing from them a bit of their soul, new gestures, new ways of looking, new ways of relating to each other. I don't know. I do very much look for that. Even with if I work with an actor or an actress, I'm always trying to deconstruct them and build them up again together. Because I'm not a master of that. They are, the actors and the actresses. I just accompany them, but that's what I'm trying to do. That's okay. Let's try to dig here and just do something different. Let's try to kind of like be flexible enough to adapt to the context. So I tend to work with actors and actresses that are willing to do that. They are willing to get out of their comfort zone, just like I'm getting out of the comfort zone myself. And yeah, and there's something very special about seeing people who don't initially believe in themselves accomplishing great things on the screen. That is something that gives me a lot of pleasure. And so I look for that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you normally work with them? Do you have someone of casting? Because as Rafa was saying, and you were mentioning, one of the specialized things or the most beautiful things of your cinema is that you were just describing, where you get out of natural actors or non-professional actors, whatever you want to call it. Do you normally work directly with them? I gather it's a long process to get what we see in the screen that is so powerful.
Yeah, I do. For the first time, I'm working with a casting director who had never done casting before. So she's more of someone that I trust, like a friend. Well, her name is Analia Alonso, and but I'm bringing her into my world, and and then we work together. But it is my world. It is my reality. I do kind of like I'm the one who navigates. Well, now she does, because now she's been here a long time with me, and now she's already able to, just well, she knows people, and she can just walk around. And but yeah, I find them everywhere, and whenever I find them, then it starts a long process. Yes, with them, it's a process, I guess, of building trust, definitely, of making them believe that they can do it, placing their trust on my trust on them, of just going over what they can get from the project, aside from the final file, assessing their interest and desire, because at the end of the day, everything is moved by desire. So if they really want it, if they really truly want it, that's already 90% of the work right there. And yeah, and then fine tuning or sculpting their talent a little bit, familiarizing them with how we work, and listening to them a lot. Of listening to their faces, to their bodies, to it's a long, well, it depends on the person. It could be long, it depends on the needs of the person. It might be that a long process doesn't really work for someone, and then so to me there's also like a massive question of adapting to assessing like what a person needs and adapting to that, and adapting your method of working to them. That's why it's never, there's no technique, there's no method. It's always like reading into that person, trying to understand what he or she needs and adapting to that. In the case of Francis and Matria, for instance, she was progressively better with repetition, and so rehearsing was something that was doing a lot of good things for her. But she was dealing very badly with me mumbling, which I do often. So I thought to myself, okay, you have to simplify the way you communicate with her. And that is something. So just simple words, simple directions, couple of things here or there, little by little. Don't overflow her with stuff. And maybe for someone else, just works differently. So it's just listening to the person that you have in front of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Alvaro, moving from directing actors to something you were touching at the beginning, which is that idea of coming home, and it's something that we see when we see the films of Elena and your films of Elena Lopez Riera, also in New Spanish Directors, and your films, we see that happening in both of you. That are directors kind of abroad. I don't know if in Chicago, London, in the case of Elena, in Switzerland, that want to be present at home, that want to connect. No, it's this thing that the farther you go, the closer you want to be of home. Home not just understood as four walls, but much more. And we see that obviously in Curricán, in Pueblo, when you compare them, and in your early films in particular, Elo, Curricán. But I don't know if you could tell us, if you remember, how was that feeling? How was that desire of being present, of being at home through film?
Yeah, well, it's absolutely like that. We are in 2014, and I'm heartbroken because I'm away. Because there was that also a period in my life in which most of the women that I looked up to disappear. Like my two grandmothers, my godmother and my mother, in a period of 3 years and a half, they passed away. And I was always away, and I always had to come back for the wrong reasons, for just for very unfair reasons. So my already nostalgic feelings amplified very much. So, and film was an excuse to go back. So it was in second place, definitely. It was something that I used to go back and spend time where I wanted to be. And that's how Curricán came to be. Partly, I guess. It's not the whole picture, but a lot of it. and that's how it came to be. It allowed me to spend here 5 months or 6 months. I was living here. I was closer to my family and closer to my roots, to the country that I love, and same reasons with Matria. Less nostalgia, more empathy, I guess. Or I don't know how to put it, but there was already like another huge force with which was Francisca Iglesias Bolzón, the seed of the film, apart from my desire to come back. And I guess I was already in the process of healing, and it wasn't. I don't remember such a need. The need is always there, but such a heavy need to go back to my land. But in any case, I was away, and Matria allowed me as well to spend 6 months in Galicia. So yeah, there's actually. It wasn't long ago that I started to read Curricán as a very painful film. For me, there's a lot of pain right there. Like the pain of not being able to go back to childhood again, for instance. And the pain of a construction that a bubble that all of a sudden just popped and left you like naked in the world. So yeah, it's a very luminous, I guess. It's a very, how would you say it? Light, bright look at my early days, but at the same time, there's a lot of pain right there.
You see the contrast, definitely. I mean, working with analog film and the light and the summery vibe and what's going on inside in the story, there is that contrast. And it's great to recover Curricán. Sorry, Raf.
No, those films, I mean, maybe all the way until 16th of December, you use the in media res, the way you edit those films, because you are an editor as well as a director, and well, your career as an editor would be enough to do another new Spanish editors. I don't know, and invite you to a different program. But in this case, the in media res means that obviously Ramona gets into a day that you could have organized in a different way, and it will be a loop that it will work as well. The same, we had a chance to see Elo, which was one short of yours I didn't see before, but that changes. The 16th of December has a more linear narrative structure. Things start, then happen, and the consequence carry on. Why you change that, and is that the case with your new film, Matria? Although Alberto wanted to cover Matria later.
I wasn't so conscious of that change. I guess as I've always, I mean, as with shorts, there's already so much to pay attention to. If you take like a slice of life, a couple hours, 3 hours a day, that it's very difficult for me to think in other terms without compressing the narrative to, as I said, like a day or a few hours, because there's just all of a sudden so much that I have to pay attention to, and I don't know how to put it, how to reduce it, how to put it together. And I feel that when I start to expand, I'm starting to lose the details, and I do, since I try to embed the films that I make in the everyday life, I do want to try to capture the details of it. There's a lot of drama, high intensity drama in what I do. I'm not, until now, I'm not making awful films, but there's a search there that maybe it's starting to pop up, or it has always been there, and so far it's been underneath that drama layer that is trying to search for those apparently undramatic, non-dramatic little events of the ordinary life. In that, and time compressing the films allows me to do that. There's also like a certain like forward momentum that you gain by compressing time that keeps the narrative just going forward, moving forward, and that is something that I do think, I think of, and that I think carries my films to a certain extent. But I wasn't allowed so much of that difference.
Thank you very much. Well, you mentioned observing the characters, observing what you're filming, and certainly, I mean, in your films, one of the strongest points is that you identify yourself with the characters. I mean, you mentioned Ramona in Matria, which is the case, but I think it's your grandfather in Elo, and a grandfather as well in Bubbles. The way you observe those characters before you get them into the film is so important for me to get so close to them, to really get into their skin. Is this part of your training, or comes from very early works of yours all the way to the whole of your career?
I think that comes from my nature as a human being. Like, I need that. But when I establish a relationship out of the filmmaking, out of my profession, like I tend to, I don't know, it just comes naturally. I tend to empathize. I like to do that. I like to put myself in the other person's shoes. I need to experience that. It also allows me to learn a lot, I guess, and to try to like get rid of whatever preconceived ideas I have about a place or a person, and prejudices that I might have as well. So I guess I do translate that attitude toward in life to my films. And what I do try to do, though, is to try to find like the thin line between empathizing with someone and being invasive, and making like blood out of the sweat, and try to amplify the drama through whatever visual storytelling technique I might apply to the film. I try not to do that, but I do. But then at the same time, I do want to. I do want to have a warm look at people and places. I do want to. What's the word? Be compassionate. Like, yeah.
And it's funny, Raf. I'm jumping the script here, so apologies in advance, Raf, for screwing all our organization for the interview. But this is a conversation. Something that Alvaro says tracks me back to a conversation with Pedro Collantes last year, one of the Spanish directors in Focus. Yes,
and
it's about what you were saying, Raf, and what you were talking, Alvaro, is about how to construct empathy with a character without, traditional ways of doing it, of the fiction of doing it. And Pedro is also director and editor. And last year, I remember we were talking about, he was using mainly two things, which is the distance with the character, where you put the camera, and also this sense of rhythm. In your films, we see that despite being an editor, there is a sense of rhythm that allows everyday life, reality, just come into the screen in a very organic way. There's no need to cut before. There's, sometimes you need that space, that natural space after something dramatic happening to, let the character breathe, let you as a director breathe, and let us breathe a little bit. It really comes organic. Thinking of Elo, thinking of Matria, something that we like of the films.
That's great that you mentioned that, because it's something, it's at the core of everything, I think. I think we are all looking for that rhythm. Like we're all trying to build a melody out of, like, yeah, just like writing music, no, and trying to create an experience based on rhythm that can set up different moods and move you through them. And it is one of the most fun things to do, to me. And that external rhythm, and then the internal, to build the internal rhythm of the images. And there's, I do get a lot of adrenaline from that, like from setting up a shot, thinking about the distance, and then try to solve whatever scene we're doing in the less shots possible, and trying to build the rhythm inside and internally, using human bodies, objects, space, elements that to a certain extent you cannot predict whether they're going to do 100%. So there's always like also a portion of luck or of trust or faith in what you're doing. And just there's sometimes that everything just flows in a way that makes you feel like you're in a bliss or something.
let's not cut. Let's keep this, no?
And try to find those moments for it's something that drives me to keep doing what I'm doing. That is one of the reasons, I guess, egotistical, selfish reasons to do what I do. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it otherwise. It's just all of a sudden it just happens, and you've been working for it, obviously, and yeah, it's a shot of it. Yeah. No.
Yeah. It's the spark, it's the bliss. I really like those two words together. When that happens in a shooting, or when you're able to let that happen, or that's happening in front of you, just capture it, and we see that some short, small magic moments in your films.
Yeah, you can only hope to just capture a couple, then the rest. But if you've got a couple, I mean, that's already quite something.
Yeah. Raf, I shall get back to our script, or you're gonna tell me off later.
No, I'm gonna tell you off right now. I mean, talking about magic moments and talking about, obviously, you were mentioning the people you work with that are not necessarily the biggest professionals, or sometimes yes, sometimes not. Sometimes it's people that you trust that they can do the job and you can get them there.
Yeah.
Alberto was talking before this about Lucia Cepan as your photography director, and it's a change, or it set up another change on your films, like what happened before her and how they look now. Do you want to tell us about that, working with Lucia, how it is?
Yeah, it's another bliss. It's really great to work with her. She has, I mean, she, like everyone else, has shortcomings and very good things. But to me, what she's extremely good and in a unique way at, and that goes over whatever shortcomings she might have, is that she's able to listen to really truly listen to what's happening in front of the camera, and that is something that I'm constantly asking her for. But listening in a very empathetic way, that also tires her up very much. So whenever there's something heavy happening on the screen, she's feeling that, and I think she translates that into the camera somehow. I don't know how, but she kind of like acts as a canal between the camera and what is happening in front of it. And I think that translates into the shot. You can feel it, and it's very powerful. And so she's really concentrated and 100% paying attention, listening to that person, or to those people in front of it. And that's why, for instance, I'm not very keen with her on telling her exactly when to move all the time. I just sometimes, I trust her that she would move the camera exactly where I would, because she's there with them, right? And then she's able to work in a very invisible way. You don't know that she's doing things, and that is fantastic for especially the actresses, or non-actors, non-actresses. It just allows them to just to feel that the space is theirs, and that we are prioritizing what we film and not how we film it, which is something that for us is one of the columns, the pillars. And so there's a lot of trust between us. There's always a very fluid conversation that goes over all kinds of things. Light, I don't know, everything, but mainly what I would put over, what I highlight is her ability to empathize with what's in front of her, and moving through the space based on that empathy, based on
we often talk about the technical qualities, the lenses, the colors they get, the luminosity, and not so much about also the human conditions of a DOP to get those things that we were talking just before this.
To me, is the key. Is key. I don't care so much about. I mean, we do obviously care about distance and colors and light, and we talk and have. But if I have to prioritize, I would go to the other side.
The latter. No. Alvaro, I think I'm enjoying a lot this conversation. I think it's mature enough to look at this theme of evolution. I really like, one of the things I really like about doing this in focus, or these small retrospectives, humbles. We're not trying to say, these directors have enough body of work to do a retrospective. We're saying before they show you their first feature, let's take a look at what they've done up until now. And you see evolution, you see changes, you see exercises that come maybe from more film student interest to develop your own tone. And in your case, they're almost like two separate questions we can tackle as two separate questions or one, but we definitely see an interest from your early films to the last ones, from the very personal family world to a more political sense, in, who we are in a society, collective concerns, feminism, toxic masculinity that we discussed in previous conversations we had with you, and from a almost purely documentary sense of filmmaking to a more adding elements of fiction up until 16th of December. So are you aware, is something that you're consciously moving on from, and is something that you're looking for? Or tell us about this sense of change, evolution understood as change.
No, I'm not thinking too much about that, in the sense that it just, again, it comes natural to me. I guess I do see. I guess I do see an evolution, and it has to, but that has to do mainly with what we were talking before. Like in 2015, when I met my first short, I couldn't look kind of like outside of myself too much. I had to because of personal reasons, to, I guess, to look inwards, to try to find things inwards, and try to cope with a period of mourning, personal mourning in several ways. One of them was making film, so I was very much, I guess, focused on what I was feeling and personal experiences, and I guess afterwards I was in the process of healing, and that allowed me already to start deviating from myself, though there's always a lot of personal revelation in whatever films. You have to put yourself in there. There's a lot of me in the rest of them, even though they're not specifically talking about a personal experience, right? But you always have to try to get yourself a little naked in front of the camera as well. Funny enough, my second feature, which I'm gonna shoot in the village of my mother, it does go back to that Currican.
Nice.
Yes, primicia.
Yeah, I've actually, I don't know if I've ever said it out loud. I think that everything that you do, however personal might be, is always political. That is, I do believe in collective action for a collective solution, and I want to be a part of it. Which, whatever I do, whether that is in the professional side of things, or whether that is in my everyday life. My everyday life is also composed of a lot of choices that are political as well, and I'm conscious of that, and I try to do my best. And then with my work, from my point of view, art should be on the side of los campesinos. How do you say that?
Yeah, I mean, working class, or labor.
Yeah, that's what I believe. So my attitude, it's already in the choices of subject, and everything that comes afterwards is informed by that. And it just comes natural to me. It's what I believe, and I don't consciously go like, oh, I'm going to be try to be political with this film. It's just, I don't know. It's what it is. And
I think Francisco Umbral used to say that the benefit of the underdogs or the underground classes is the absence of hypocrisy, which is so refreshing, and that's why I choose to talk about them. I may be seen as favoring working class or underdog classes. Well, Alvaro, you talk us about your second feature film, and without telling us anything about your first feature film.
Yeah, I have to make the first one
what
first.
Can you tell us about it?
But I'm so hyped by this second idea as well. Well, no, it's not an idea; it's a collection of ideas that I can't stop talking about it. But yes, I'm about to shoot my first feature, and it's just it has been a very intense and great and wonderful process so far, and we are currently just entering heavy pre-production. I mean, we've been pre-producing for a while, but now I'm starting to feel that energy of everybody coming into the film. Whereas before it was my producers, me, and maybe the first AD and the director of production, the line producer. So I'm starting to feel that energy.
One of the most expected returns to the screen, no? Of Ramona coming back.
Well, I don't know if expected, but yeah, it's great to go back to her, and and start a little revolution with her as well. uh, yeah, I'm very, it is something, there's some things, I guess, in real life that you just don't have the means or tools to accomplish, but you can do it in fiction.
Yeah.
From the outset, Alvaro, obviously, and for anyone watching, from a very reductionist and simplest point of view, if we look at films as how exciting they look when pieces are coming together, it's one of the most exciting films ahead of 2022, because it's your storytelling, because we like the way you tell stories, but also because the company and the people that are surrounding you. We were talking about Lucia in the case of photography, but in the case of your long-standing companion and producer, Mireia, the people from Avalon, Maria Zamora, and all the team behind Avalon, which is one of the most exciting production companies in Spain, is on board for the project. If you look at not only Spain, but European level, already the film is backed by New Europe Film Sales, one of the most exciting editorially driven sales agents in Europe. So it's looking like a very exciting project. Let's not go too crazy. You need to shoot the film. The film needs to continue the path. But
yeah, there's I try to. I need to keep that because there's a bit of pressure, but I try to keep that aside while I'm making the film, and then let's see. Hopefully, it will fulfill people's expectations. I don't want people to get disappointed, but I can not think of that while I'm making it.
Yeah. But Alvaro, what brought you here to Cinematic weren't your feature films. We haven't seen them yet. Were your short films. And at Cinematic is defends the short film as the format. Are you abandoning? Are you abandoning us or?
No. Well, actually, I was about to shoot. I was 1 week away of shooting a new short film in February. But then the third wave kicked in, and we had to cancel. I was literally, everything was ready. So I do have a script planned and everything ready to go whenever I can. And then there's a lot of ideas for shorts. It just depends on how things flow and whether one of those ideas really takes shape and catches my and I catch it and I really desire to put it into the screen, and it belongs to a short or a feature. I don't care. I don't differentiate. It's just what comes, what leads my interest, and that could be in the shape of whatever. I don't care about the duration. So for sure, I would. For sure, I think I would go back. Well, go back.
Yes.
I've never left.
Yes.
I've left. I don't. I mean, as I said, I already have one script that is waiting there to be shot. I've casted for it. I've done everything. It's just location scouting, everything. And then there's
exciting. We celebrate that, Alvaro. Sorry to jump in. But we very much defend and like directors that understand storytelling in that way and have the desire to make feature films, and then they need also to shoot short films and give us beautiful short films, even if they've gone famous doing feature films or whatever. So
hopefully
we certainly hope
going famous.
Going famous in independent cinema circuit or whatever, but it's something that we really respect and would like to see more. But those that do it are small hidden heroes of us, so we hope to see some more shorts coming from Álvaro Gago in the future.
Well, with that said, I think we can close the interview there and invite everyone. Obviously, I think we are showing every film of yours, apart of the very first one, the Doremi, which is a good exercise, and people can watch in your Vimeo channel. It's open there. It's a pleasure always to speak with you, Álvaro, and to know about all these plans. And well, I'm sure we will keep talking about your shorts, your features, and best of luck.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys, and it's actually the first time that I've that Elo is going to be shown, which is more of a investigation piece. It's something that leads to something else, but it's great that to be the first time with you guys. The first time that I show it outside my family circle. And yeah, thank you for inviting me.
It makes us feel special, Álvaro. I think last year with Pilar, it happened something similar with Pilar Palomero. She had a couple of work in progress pieces and a couple of very personal exercises. When you shared Elo, we were like, whoa, this is very beautiful and very personal. So, just dealing with a sense of responsibility, and we're very fortunate and proud that we can show it as part of this group of films by Álvaro Gago.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, don't forget, everyone, to tell us what you think about the films of Álvaro Gago and our new Spanish Director program. See you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, Álvaro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Álvaro.
Stay well.